What's up, everybody? It's Parallax Abstraction, and welcome to PXA Peeks at the early access version of Bunker Punks. Yes, indeed, I got another review code recently, and this one was interesting. The developer actually emailed me personally and said, hey, do you want to check this out? Here's a code, which is not something I've had the pleasure of very often. I tend to get most of my keys through services like Keymailer, so it's very cool of him to reach out like that. This is a game from a largely single-person team called Ninja Robot Dinosaur, which another really awesome developer name. I love that. And I'd never heard of it before I got the code for this, but it's kind of interesting. It's another roguelite title, and you know what I've said before is that roguelites, if they're going to interest me, have to do something a little different from the norm, and this one most certainly does. It is also hell of early access, though. This game is not due to come out of early access for probably another year or more. And as I've said before, I no longer buy early access titles. That's not a policy I necessarily think everyone should adhere to. It's just one I've adopted myself. So just so you know, buyer beware, this game is very early, but the developer does really want player feedback from this, and he seems to be taking a lot of it into account. So you do really have an opportunity to shape this if you want to buy in early. So there is that. All right, let's roll here. So what is this game? So Bunker Punks is a first-person shooter roguelike. It takes place in a basically post-apocalyptic world where a bunch of evil corporations are running what's left of humanity. And you're basically a resistance movement who is trying to take down the man and loot as much cool stuff as you can along the way. So alright, so here are the different punks. So I only have a few of them unlocked right now. These different punks all have their very interesting, unique personalities and specialties in terms of weapons and statistics. You can unlock more as you go, we'll get to that later. So
sign me up, when only the best will do.
So, as you can see,
Time for a touch of class.
they all have their own little personalities, which is kind of cool. So we're gonna go with these two right now, the shotgun dude and the melee dude. These are very, very different, but very cool in their own way. When you first start this game, you only have one punk that you can take per run, and you can get more as you go. Again, we'll get to that. So let's fire this up. Alright, here we go. So welcome to Bunker Punks. So this game is a first-person shooter roguelike, as I said, and you may be like, oh, there hasn't been a pile of those already. Yeah, but this thing has some interesting twists on the formula, I think, that make it kind of neat. First things you're going to notice here is this visual aesthetic. This is quite interesting, I find, because the best way I could describe it is it kind of feels like halfway between Wolfenstein 3D and the build engine. So, you know, if you're a bit of a retro gamer, you know what Wolfenstein 3D is, and you probably know what the build engine is. That powered games like Duke Nukem 3D, the original Shadow Warrior, the original Blood, games like that. And this kind of feels like that. It's got the Wolfenstein 3D thing where there's sprites that are technically in 3D, but as you can see, their perspective follows you. So if you, like, strafe around them, it's always looking at you, that kind of thing. That was very much a Wolf 3D thing. And it sort of has the geometry types of the build engine. It's a very interesting blend of those two things. So it's you know, retro graphics are a thing that is being a little overdone these days, but I still really like it when a developer does them in a way that's unique and kind of fuses different styles together, which this does. I don't think this game looks bad at all. And the look of it and the gameplay of it actually in many ways reminds me of a game that came out a little while ago from Devolver Digital and another single-person developer whose name I'm blanking on right now. That was really interesting. That game was called Heavy Bullets. That's what I'm reaching for. And that's a game I still play sometimes as well. That's a game that it's different from this in many ways, but the core gameplay methods of it is fairly similar. And one of the things that I liked about that game and this one is that, as you can see, it is hell of fast. You only have one speed in this, and it is sprinting like hell. And this game, it encourages you to do that. You are not supposed to stand still. This thing wants you to go, go, go. You will blow through levels in this very quickly. Most levels only take a couple of minutes to finish. And it's about quick runs, and it's about ruthless efficiency. It's basically about motoring as quick as you can to get where you need to go. It is not about stopping to smell the roses. It is not about reflecting on your surroundings. It is get to the end, get cool stuff, get out. That's it. And I think that's really cool. So each of the levels that you're going in, you're going to go through these different facilities, each of which have multiple floors that you have to traverse. And as you can see here, I'm killing guys and picking up ammo. I'm picking up credits. I'm picking up tech. You'll see what those are for later. You can pick up different armor. You can pick up all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, we're going to go with that. And you got to get to the end. So, okay, so we completed both of these floors. So you don't have to empty out a floor necessarily to be able to leave it. You just have to empty out the room where the elevator is. But you generally want to empty out the whole floor to get the best loot. So when you're done this, you return to your HQ, and here's where things get interesting. All right. So, yes, welcome to your base, which is underneath a gas station in the middle of the desert because it's the post-apocalypse, of course. And you'll come back here in between each run, and you have various different options to upgrade your base and therefore help your punks on their future missions. And what's interesting about this game, and that makes it different from most roguelikes, is you do have this little base building element, and there's also an element of permanence and permanent progression that you can have in between runs of the game, which is where things like this come in. So creds are money that you spend to upgrade your base here. So you see we've got these two different rooms here. And you can click in them and add in different modules. So this is a sort of a medical wing, and this is, well, you can have a medical wing, or you can have, right now, a weapons wing. This will expand later, I presume. So let's say we want to turn this into an infirmary. So now this is an infirmary which will help punks heal. And you see, once you've built the room, there's different modules that you can add to it. So you have first aid training, which increases the effectiveness of health pickups. Increases the maximum health. Nano implants. Punks heal when they do combos. Combos is literally just killing enemies in rapid succession. You get bigger combos the more enemies you kill in a very short period of time. And vitals monitor. Punks heal when they are on the elevator between floors. So you probably, let's say I want to increase the max health. That's a good thing. And each of these modules also has upgrades which have increasingly larger costs as you go, right? So, and you can, as you can see, you can stack these in here. And then over here, we're going to build a firing range. So you can build ranges that will improve accuracies with different kinds of firearms. Now, every punk can use every weapon, but as you saw in the character select screen, there are specialties. So certain punks are better with certain kinds of guns. So the guy I'm playing now, Dallas Beach, he's a shotgun dude. So since I have a shotgun, that's probably what I want to spend a little bit of money on to build that up. And you see, you can improve things as you go. You can do a rifle range. You have one of those people. You have a pistols thing you can do. My second character is melee focus, which I don't have a thing for right now. But you'll come back here in between each different mission that you undertake, and you want to spend the money that you earn in order to upgrade this to make your subsequent runs easier. This whole thing does not carry over between runs. So if both of my punks die, that's it. I'm out. And this all resets. And that's the thing that happens between... that you have to do in each subsequent run. So you can customize it differently each time. The tech, which is this thing up here, is the permanent thing that gives you permanent progression, and we'll get into that after this, because I have never made it to the end of this yet. So here you go. This is ultimately where you want to get to, is the Pharaoh corporate headquarters, but you can make your way there by any means you want. So you always have to do the next structure in line in the map here, but you'll be able to pick your path if you want. If you really want to take a heavy risk and get all the loot you can do every mission eventually if you want, or you can just stick to one line, make your way across to Pharaoh, and there you go. And each place you'll invade, you'll see they have multiple floors which have different kinds of things on them, and this largely determines, at least at this point in this build, it will determine the loot you get. So you want more medical stuff, you would go here. You want more, I believe this is more like credits and tech and stuff, you go here. So let's go there. And you can choose which punk you want to take in. You don't always have to go with the last one that you played. And obviously, if you have a punk die in a run, you'll go back to your base and, well, and you can pick another one. Right now, I only have 2 available, so that would only give me that. Let's do Dallas again, and I'll show you Royce after. So, and as you saw there in the first level, I picked up loot as I went. There is loot scattered around the levels that gives different benefits to your character, and those carry over as well. And if you have multiple things available in your inventory, you can shuffle those around. I don't have anything on my fists or in my other hand right now, but you can sort of adjust this as you go. So there, as you can see, there's a lot of customization, and the customization element is what I really like, actually. I think that's where this game's biggest strength is. It's not just, as much as I liked heavy bullets the customization in it was somewhat limited, and you could go, your real goal was just to survive in your one run as much as you could, and you couldn't customize as much as you could in this. This you could approach runs very differently. You can build your base out differently, you can play with different punks. Heavy Bullets only had one character. So in this, you have multiple characters that you can play. You can choose to put them in different orders. You can choose to specialize in different weapons. You can power them up differently, things like that. So each run can actually be a very different experience if you want it to be. So here, you get a little quick comparison of loot that's on the ground. I shouldn't be standing still, but as you can see, one of the items that I had there was actually, yeah, so you see, it sort of gives you the little breakdown of them there. So this is actually better. This assault helmet gives me more defense, and it doesn't have a melee bonus, but this guy is not a melee-focused character, so that doesn't matter. So that's actually worthwhile. And the weapons do play very differently. Obviously, the shotgun is very different. The rifle is less accurate, but fires very quickly. The pistol is very accurate, but higher damage typically, but also fires very, very slowly. And melee is awesome. Melee, you have very short range, but you do stupid damage. But it's very, very hard against some of the enemy types to go up against them without taking any damage at all. It's actually a pretty tough class to play, but one of the more satisfying ones. And as you can see, there's things you can blow up along the way. Some of these things actually explode and will do damage to enemies that are beside them. Other things are just things like crates that blow up that give you, you know, a little bit of extra loot or items or health or credits, things like that. And this is kind of the core of it. You want to go through these levels. The levels are all very short, and in proper roguelike fashion, they are randomly generated, of course. I mean, it's all really variants of corridors and sort of arena-based rooms. So, I mean, while they are randomly generated, none of them are especially complex, in my opinion. It's not exactly difficult to navigate these regardless, but it's still nice that they're not the same every time. I think that's crucial in a game that, really by design, you're going to have to be playing a lot. And I really love the music in this. It's very, very high intensity, fast, you know, energetic, which is really what you want out of a game like this. It's all about just chewing through stuff as quick as you can. Alright, so here we go. So we're back at the base, and we got a new batch of creds. So let's add in... we can't add in anything there, so... let's boost this up a little bit. And on the next run, we're going to take in Royce, who is a melee-focused fighter. So let's go here to the Proton Tech base.
Present and accounted for.
So you see here, we have... he's actually able... Because he's the punk going in, your punks share gear. So this is actually kind of nice, right? So I have that. You don't have to. I'm not, because I hadn't played with this guy yet, I'm not going to be going into this run with no gear and in a position where I have to pick it all up myself in here. I'm actually able to walk in with the other guy's gear, which may actually not be ideally set for him. I mean, the other guy was a shotgunner, right? This guy's a melee-focused guy, so that gear may not be the best thing, but it's still better than nothing, and it won't force you to go in with nothing. And as you can see as well here, it even pulls his guns over. Now, this is one thing sorry, I just focused on those enemies there. The fact that it pulls the guns over is not something I'm necessarily a fan of, because as I said, every punk can use every weapon, but they're specialized, right? So right now, I'm kind of at a disadvantage because I'm playing a melee-focused guy with a shotgun. And I mean, he's still doing all right, you know, he's still wrecking dudes, as you can see here, but he's definitely not doing as good a job. Oh, these things are fun. These things take a lot of shots, and they do crazy damage if they get in your face. So, I mean, it's not necessarily that it's impossible to play him this way, but it does feel like a bit of a pain that that when you previously had a shotgun specialist guy, that it's throwing you into the game with someone who is... It's throwing me now in with a shotgun with a melee-focused character. That seems a little counterintuitive. Though to be fair, I could have changed that if I wanted as well. So the game doesn't hold your hand in that regard, which is kind of a, you know, which is a good thing in many ways. I could have changed out his weapon in the equip screen. It didn't do that for me. Which you might think, well, if it's sending you in with a melee-focused guy, maybe it should just make that assumption for you, but it doesn't. It's kind of like, no, if you want to change his weapon out, then you make sure you do it, otherwise that disadvantage is on you. So you know, this game is don't get me wrong, this game is very, very tough. I have not gotten to the end of this game once yet, and I played it for a while before I did this video. You know, this is still largely first impressions. As you can see, I still have a lot of progression left to do, but needless to say, I have not finished a run of this yet. So this, as most roguelikes are, this game is pretty damn hard. And, you know, as it probably should be, I think most people would say. Oh boy, stuff's getting a little tricky here. I've got to kill this dog thing and then take out these turrets. There we go. Like, I don't know. These are all supposed to be like post-apocalyptic Fallout-style mutant enemies, I guess. There's really no explanation for why you're fighting so many robots or why, like, the mutant dog looks like that or anything like that. There's really not that much lore behind this. But you're kind of seeing the core idea of this here. Again, roguelikes are not for everybody. You know, only certain types of roguelikes are for me. If you're not into roguelikes, I don't think this is going to change your mind. And if you're not into really, really fast-paced first-person shooter stuff, this probably won't grab you either. I will say one thing about this game, and it's surprising me as much as everybody else, but despite the fact that Bunker Punks has an adjustable field of view slider, I can't play this game for very long without feeling nauseous. I am not someone who is prone to simulation sickness, in most cases, but for whatever reason, something about this game prevents me from playing it for too long without feeling a bit nauseous, even if I turn the field of view way up. My theory is that because it's so fast, and even though it runs at 60 frames a second, you see how there's like blur, there's motion blur, basically? Yeah, that's pretty much the way this game works. The way this engine's designed, it has that motion blur sort of inherent to its movement. And I never do well with motion blur. Like, if I have a AAA game that has motion blur, like post-processing motion blur effects, I always turn it off. Get away from me, you douche. I don't like motion blur effects, and this motion blur in here cannot be turned off. I think it's just ingrained into the way the game draws frames. I do hope that's something they can fix, because, yeah, right now, if I play more than maybe 2 or 3 runs in a row in this game, I start to get pretty woozy, and I have to stop. I've tried that multiple times, and that's always been the case. So that's something you may want to be cognizant of there. Also, as I said, this game is very early in early access. The developer claims he's been working on this for almost 2 years. I presume as like a side project or whatnot. And I mean, it's fully playable. You can shoot, you can loot, you can get to the end if you want. It's in much better shape than a lot of early access games. You know, it also runs well. I had one instance, actually funny enough, the first time I tried to record this video, where I fell through the world and died. And it's got the occasional little hitch like that, but by and large, it's technically pretty sound. My biggest problem right now is that it is really, really lacking in content. There's only a handful of enemies. The levels all look the same. There's only a handful of enemies. There's only a handful of weapons. There's only a handful of power-ups. There's just not much variety right now. And I'm quite certain in the year of development that's left, he has big plans for that. Okay, so we got a pile more money there, which is really good. So we're gonna up this. So now I'm gonna do things proper here. Increases effectiveness of health pickups is probably a good one. So now we're gonna do this proper. So we're gonna move forward to the Moore Health Center. We're gonna play Royce, but this time I'm not gonna be a moron, and I'm gonna give him a proper weapon. We should have his bat in here. Yes, we do. So there we go. And his secondary weapon, I'll make his secondary weapon the shotgun, just because obviously you never run out of ammo with the melee weapons, but you know, it might be difficult with if my health gets low. So here we go. But as you can see, the melee weapons are slow, and while the range is actually pretty good for something that you're swinging out of your fist, you do still have to get up really close, but this thing hits friggin' hard. And this is without any upgrades on it. It is so satisfying to get right up in someone's face and just knock it right to bits. This is really cool. This is definitely one of the tougher ways to play the game. Someone doing an all melee run would be quite impressive, to be frank, but it's nonetheless, it's really fun. It's a fun weapon to play with, and it's very different than the guns in that you can't upgrade it in the traditional ways. Things like that. It's very interesting. But yeah, right now this game is, the core of it is there. Like, his core mechanics are there, and they're very solid and very polished, which if you're going to put something out in early access is the way to do it. Obviously, you want to draw people in with solid core gameplay, and I think he's done that. Yeah, this just needs a lot more content right now. I mean, honestly, if I hadn't been given a code for this, and I still did buy early access games, I would probably not have bought this right now, just because there's not enough in it. Like I said, there's not enough visual variety in the levels. There's not enough variety even in the level designs, personally. There's only a handful of enemies. There's only a handful of weapons. There's only a handful of pickups. It looks like there's going to be a lot of punks in it. I don't know if all the punks are in the game right now. If they are, that's cool, but I've only seen a few of them so far. It does take a fair bit of tech to upgrade them. Like, it will require a lot of runs. Oh, this is not going well at all. It will require a decent number of runs to unlock them all. Okay, well, I lost him. So, when this guy's out, you go back to the bunker. Like so. Alright. So Royce Hall has died. As a final gift to the zero-sum gang, all punks receive the following. So you actually get a nice big boost to everyone else when someone dies, which is a nice little parting gift. It's kind of like, yeah, you failed, you suck, but alright, we'll give you something. And you can choose to run the same level again, or you can run another one if you like, which I think is kind of neat. So let's run a different one here. And let's give this guy, let's give him back his tactical shotgun, and then we'll put the pistol in the secondary. Alright, let's do this. There we go. And yeah, you see the idea here. You gotta power through to the end, and that's really the goal of it. All this game really needs is, well, other than maybe trying to set it up in a way that doesn't make me nauseous, it just needs more content. There just needs to be more stuff in it. I want more things to shoot at. I want more things to shoot at them with. And I would like the levels to look a little bit different than they do now, because right now they all really do feel like variations on a basic theme. But that's fine. I suspect that there are going to be a lot of content patches coming before... Oh, right, these things. There's also mech things you have to deal with. They're pretty easy, though, because they shoot slow-moving projectiles at you, so you can just sort of circle strafe around them and kite them like this, as you see me doing here. There he goes. But yeah, like, I'm already getting a little bit nauseous playing this game now, even just doing this video. I've been recording for 22 minutes, and I'm already kind of like, ugh. So that's definitely could be an issue for people. If you're more prone to simulation sickness, which is to say it all compared to me. Oh, something glitched there, but okay, well, that's fine. That gets me to show you the permanent upgrades thing. So when both your people are out, you know, you're out. But here's what's cool. So you see I got the tech bits here. So as you progress, you'll get all these weird and wonderful different merchants that appear in the parking lot of what looks like a Walmart. I guess, what does that say? Buyco? Yeah, something like that. And this is what's neat. So everything you buy here is permanent. This will always be available to you between runs. So you can see here, bunker increases damage with explosive type weapons and accurate long-range rifles. So there are different weapons here that you can buy. So there are more weapons available, but there's still sort of variations on a theme. So you see here, bunker, recruit an additional punk to your gang. This is very handy. This allows you to have a, I believe this is what will allow me to bring a third punk with me. So I'm going to buy that. And as you can see, here's another punk, Joey Fit, gunslinger with good defense. Or no, Joey Fit's the, sorry, Joey Fit's the merchant. So this is Cassidy. So sure, let's do that. And then we'll check out Doc Mercy down here. This allows you to build an additional room in the bunker. A katana weapon, that would probably be really rad for, here's a grenade launcher. Katana would probably be really weapon for a melee character, or would be really rad for a melee character, so yeah, I'm gonna do that. And you see you get to buy all these different things, and now I can start a new run, and these things are available to me. And you can see now I can have a third punk. And this will carry forward on every subsequent run. So it does make things potentially easier for you going forward. The more you can make more and more progression. And obviously, if you can get to the end of the game with just a lower spec punks or less punks, that would be really awesome as well. But it gives you a chance to have that slow build up, and I like roguelikes that do that. I like roguelikes that give you an opportunity to
Concentrate, Molly.
Okay, so here's Molly. She'll use a pistol person. I like roguelikes that do give you that sense of progression. That is really more roguelite. And, you know, some people are into those, some people are not. I like games where failing out of it doesn't just mean you've completely failed and you get to start again from absolute square one. I like games that are like, yeah, we're going to have you restart if you die, to keep the challenge up and to incentivize you to not be greedy and not go too fast, you know, to take your time and be strategic. But at the same time, we're going to give you some stuff so that you can be rewarded for the effort that you put in. So you can buy upgrades, or you can get, you know, those extra items, or extra punks in this case, things like that. To basically say, yeah, you still get some reward for your prior efforts, as opposed to a traditional roguelike where prior efforts are completely meaningless other than your own knowledge set that you've gained. Some people want that level of challenge, and I totally get that. I have nothing specifically against those kinds of games. They're just not for me in particular. I much prefer this one, where I can see a sort of tangible benefit of my past experience. And this does that. As I said, very early in early access. It's lacking content. It needs more content than it has, but the developer's already been putting out patches on a frequent basis just in the time I've had this. So it looks like it's going to be well supported, and the guy is definitely way behind it. And I am reasonably confident it will get to where he wants it to go and come out. But of course, early access is always buyer beware. But there's a good foundation here. If you like first-person shooters that are very, very fast, and especially if you like roguelikes, you might want to get in on this at this stage so that you can help contribute to the development. You know, if you just want to wait until it comes out, I totally understand that as well. But, yeah, while the content's a little thin, the core is good. And despite the fact that it's kind of making me a little bit ill, I still come back to this on a regular basis, and I'll be continuing to follow this throughout development. As this is a game that it probably has a lot to come in early access, this may be one where I don't just do a video on the final product when it comes out. I may do videos on its early access progression, especially when it gets big new content patches and things like that. So there's hopefully a lot to come out of this, but I'm really actually I think he's got a very good core foundation here, and like I said, it takes a fair bit to get me into a roguelite, but he did with this one, and you know, that in and of itself is pretty darn impressive if you ask me. So yeah, that is the early access version of Bunker Punks, developed and published by Ninja Robot Dinosaur. This is on Steam. It is available for give or take around $15 or your original equivalent. The price might be a little high for what's in this right now, but of course depends what you're into. But yeah, if you want to help fund development and contribute to it, this might be a good opportunity. But early access, buyer beware. But I like what I see so far, and I really hope it continues to evolve. My name is Parallax Abstraction. Thank you all very much for watching. If you liked what you saw here, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. That does help me out a great deal. And well, I think I'm going to take some Gravol and keep busting some bunkers, because this is damn good fun. Take it easy, guys.